Confessions of a Girlpreneur. No, I'd never heard of the word either until I realized it was an amalgam, if you will, of entrepreneur and girl, female, in other words. So let's get an interesting take on entrepreneurship from Fiona Gilligan joining us. She's the author of Confessions of a Girlpreneur. Fiona, first off, give me a little bit about your background.
Okay, so basically I'm a social worker by trade, and many years ago, about 20 years ago, I ended up in the unfortunate position of finding myself unemployed with a master's degree in social work. So I started, my background was in trauma psych, so I started a private practice, and basically it grew and grew and grew, became very successful. And then I thought, well, if I was to basically create, different versions of myself, I could build a company that could not only help lots of people by providing private sector trauma services that were funded through third party, but I could also, become very successful myself as well. So it was taking that model that I ended up building the Trauma Management Group, which became one of the largest trauma psych providers in Ontario, and we were right across Canada.
So are you profitable?
Highly profitable, highly profitable. And the really cool thing about it was that as an entrepreneur working with families and corporations and industry post-trauma, I was able to create a business model where all the billing went through third parties, so we never actually billed families for the services that we did, because for me that would go against our code of ethics. So it was a really innovative business model, and we didn't compete against any of the public sector services. We basically trailblazed a company across Canada on that model. And so I did that for 15 years. I was a CEO. Then I had a great offer to purchase the company. So I sold it, took a few years off, became a ski bum, learned French in the Laurentians with my kids. And then I started getting really involved with the different entrepreneur ecosystems. And what I realized is that there were so few women coming forward in leadership roles saying, hey, I built a business, I built a company, whether it's a lifestyle or whether it's a large, $100 million company. And I just sort of felt that I needed to play it forward, and that's where the whole book came in, was basically, mapping out and writing my story of, a simple social worker. My mom was a kindergarten teacher, my dad was a Canadian Forces pilot. I had no business acumen. I had no financial resources. I wasn't even connected. And if I was able to do it, then, so can the average girl. And that's really about my story, is an average girl builds $1 million plus company, and how to do it. Okay,
so what was your biggest hurdle? I mean, it's one thing, you had the experience and the training, if you will, but was it finances? Was it getting people to buy into your idea? Was it integrating with public services? What was your biggest hurdle?
Oh, that's a great question. It was actually, there was a number of hurdles, and the biggest hurdle was the fact that we didn't actually have any funding. We had no core funding. I had to bootstrap the company, which meant that we had to go out, do sales, bring the money in, pay our overhead, then use that money and hire more staff. And I mean, my overhead when we were really at our prime was well over 6 digits a month, and we had no core funding. And because I was considered to be high risk, banks wouldn't give me money. I couldn't get venture capital. I couldn't get angel investing. Again, most of the investors were guys, so they just couldn't understand, well, why would anybody want to build and scale a trauma psych service? I mean, because they couldn't see themselves using it, therefore why would they invest in it? So really, as a bootstrap entrepreneur, every single pay cycle was a struggle. I'm really proud that in 15 years I never once missed payroll, but there were some times where I can remember one time, going to the bank. It was a Tuesday, and I had payroll on a Friday, and going to the bank and just saying, I need you to please extend our line of credit another $50,000 or I'm not going to meet payroll, and things like that. So I think as girls and women, because many of our business models are different than what a lot of the investors will look at, whether it's blow dry salons, whether it's cosmetic lines, whether it's another type of engineering, our products and services can often be more unique, and as such, they're considered higher risk for investment, which is really a shame, because if you look at the stats on women entrepreneurship, we're solid. And I know a lot of my buddies that are investing, they love investing in girlpreneurs and women because the investments tend to be really solid, but they're longer term.
Yeah. Best confession, just in a few seconds?
Oh, my biggest confession? I would have to say, you know, as women, we have a lot of variables that our male entrepreneur friends don't have, and, you know, how to combine babies and business is a big one for us. Choosing our personal partners that are going to shore us up and support us is so important as we step forward. And, you know, the most important thing is really believing in ourselves. And I always say to girls, if I can do it and all my other female founder friends can do it, so can you. It's just that simple, but you just got to, you know, put on your big girl panties and get out there and make it happen.
I love that term. All kinds of variables, different variables for men versus women. Fiona, thanks so much.
Lovely. Thank you.